And I told you that Donald Trump is intent on hurting all of us. I wasn't kidding. I think the millionaires and the billionaires finally got the message.
As a Hispanic, I voted for Donald J. Trump. Dude, I regret it so much, man.
I am regretting my vote for Donald Trump.
I voted for Donald Trump and now I regret it.
Hello brothers and sisters, I really hope you're all doing fine from wherever you are watching me from now. A lot of white Americans are now crying out after they voted the orange man in power. Now things are not working well for them. Most of the things they thought Democrats or Republicans were going to solve in due time, they have not. Now they are now crying out to the black community for help. They are now crying out for unity. They want to unite with the black community because they feel like their voice is not being heard by the same government they voted in. So let's watch this video, then have a really quick discussion at the end of it. Thank you so much.
Here in Missouri, we were proud to vote for President Trump, but now we're definitely regretting it. Last year under Biden, we got approved for a $250,000 cost-sharing contract with the Department of Agriculture to improve our water systems on our 300-acre cattle farm. It's beneficial to both parties because we get a break on the cost of labor and construction putting these new pipes in, and the general population gets healthier cattle, healthier beef, etc. So basically we front all the costs for the labor and construction and then they reimburse us. But in January and now in this month, Trump's put all these executive orders to freeze all these contracts. So we've already fronted over $100,000 getting these new pipes in, and now we're not going to get reimbursed. If we call and ask, they say they don't know when the funds are going to be there or if they're going to be there at all. I couldn't believe that Trump would do this to us. We've always supported him. But then my friend sent me an article on what he used to do as a real estate mogul in New York, and apparently he didn't pay companies all the time that he did business with. So I don't know if this is ever going to get solved. We can't afford it. I don't know what we're going to do.
We have some big news right now. Donald Trump's tariffs on China are impacting farmers the most, and many of them have buyer's remorse for even voting for Donald Trump in the first place. One of the top products that is tariffed is the U.S. soybean, and U.S. soybean exports, according to CNN, are now subject to a total tariff of 135% because of the 10% tariff imposed in March, along with the 125% tariff announced last week. If you recall, back in 2018, the winner of the first U.S.-China trade war wasn't U.S. farmers, but rather Brazil, because Brazil became the world's leading soybean exporter. And since then, exports to China have grown 280%, while U.S. exports have remained flat. Many soybean farmers in the Midwest actually voted for Donald Trump. They come from states that are red states that voted for Donald Trump consistently, both in 2016 and in 2024. And Trump had long promised exemptions or support for farmers, but they haven't received any bailouts just yet. And some are now even having buyer's remorse because their businesses are going to suffer because they can't export the number of soybeans that they were before. As always, I'll do a full breakdown on my Substack, link to my bio, so subscribe for free and follow along for all the news you need to know about.
Trump is doing everything in his power to bait black people, and it's only getting worse because black people aren't falling for anything at all right now. To the point where now you're just about to deploy the National Guard in Washington, D.C., where there's a high black population, especially a high black homeless population, because you want black people in the streets protesting so you can enact martial law. We all know it. We all know it. Because the thing is, when white people have been protesting, and all of these protests have been so civil, none of them have even been streamed on TV because they're not violent. They don't get violent with white people. But they have no problem getting violent with black people. And they know if they can get black people out to protest and to fight for our rights yet again, they can enact martial law and they can throw us all in jail if we ever think of rebelling. And I'm not living in a military city. No offense, but I don't respect any authority at all whatsoever. That's my issue. I'm also not afraid of cops. I'm not afraid of the military. I've had cops with guns in my faces. I've had cops with giant horses and guns in my faces while I protested before. I will have a traffic stop and there will be multiple cops that get out for me at a traffic stop. And I've never been scared of y'all, because the thing is, y'all get off on people being scared. That's the only way y'all can't get me. Like, none of you bitches scare me. Y'all are like my little brother with his toy gun. Like, oh my god, you're gonna get me. Like, quit playing with your food and just do what you want to do. But everybody else is just a chess piece. everybody else is. The only group that he's actually after is black people. That's why he's deporting Latinos, because who's going to work in the fields now? With black female unemployment rate reaching an all-time high. That's why he's cutting Medicaid. That's why you're trying to regulate food stamps. That's why you cut the weather service. That's why you cut the only accessible piece of media to every single child in the country, poor and rich. He literally said, he was like, they were on a farm and he was talking about farmer responsibility, as in people could live on these farms with these farmers and they could just build property on the land and people could live here and work on the fields. Does that not sound familiar? Make America Great Again is bringing back slavery, bringing back black people in shackles. That's all it is. That's literally everything. And I think he knows that black people aren't falling for it, which is why he's getting more intense and more aggressive with his tactics. Because black people aren't falling for anything right now. We're not protesting. We're not fighting. We're just minding our business. So, good luck.
Kansas farmers are publicly regretting voting for Donald Trump and wish they would have read Project 2025 now that Donald Trump's policies are directly affecting them, specifically the cuts to USAID funding, which would have been used to purchase farmers' goods. Listen to what the executive director of the Kansas Farmers Union had to say about it.
There are a lot of people who are very concerned out there who voted for this administration. But, you know, they wrote it all down in Project 2025. I guess we should have paid a little closer attention to what was in that.
Yeah, you probably should have. It's not as if people weren't warning you. It's not as if Kamala Harris went out every single day and warned Americans about Project 2025. But you believe the guy that can never tell the truth when he said, I know nothing about it. And now you're suffering. But the worst part is we're all suffering. There's hungry people around the world that are being affected by that funding cut. So yes, welcome to the find out phase. We're all here. Have a seat. Grab yourself some ramen. It's the only thing that's cheap anymore. And enjoy.
I was a Trump supporter. I don't know how long I can keep doing this.
You should have stopped years ago, but continue.
I have a construction company. And not a fucking thing is getting done.
So here we are, in the midst of the consequences of our own actions. Got it. Continue.
This is what I get.
Yes.
This is what I fucking get. Nothing but white boys. It takes 4 days to do a one-day job. I might have fucked up.
You might have fucked up? No, you 100% fucked up. But the sad thing is, the sad and horrible thing is that you only think you fucked up because it's directly affecting you. You don't care about the millions of other people that it's affecting in the United States. This is 100% what you get when you ignore that he's a felon. When you ignore when he said, grab her by the you know what. When you ignore that he is liable for sexual assault. When you ignore that he has done scams and he says racist, horrible, homophobic things. This is what you get. Because the racism was there in his language all the time. You could hear him speak his racism every single day, and you chose to ignore it. So yeah, this is what you have to deal with. And it doesn't matter which race we're talking about. Donald Trump only wants white people in this country, and you ignored that. So yeah, you're dealing with it. All my love.
Oh, but sit down, there's more. I'm on a roll tonight. Let's talk about the Trump administration placing the images of black men on the White House social media pages. So the Trump administration has just crossed another line, posting the mugshots of arrested black men on the official White House social media pages. Not one white man, not one non-black face. Did you know about that? Let's be clear. This isn't about transparency or public safety. This is about controlling the narrative. And I've been talking about that this week on social media, how they are allowing the media to be controlled about what you see, controlled about what you hear about, controlled about what you learn. We're literally having to say things like, what was that word that I've been hearing, or that phrase? Music festival? What about that one? Or what about the purses? You couldn't even say the other word again because you just may get suppressed. So let's be clear, it's about stoking fear and feeding into the age-old racist stereotype that black people are inherently criminal or dangerous. Because remember, this is the same guy that took out a 4-page ad on 4 innocent young black men. Yeah, that same guy. So this isn't a new tactic, folks. We already know that. This is not new. We're used to this. We already know how this is going to go. And here's the thing. We're going to have to watch very carefully how the media plays this out, because guess what? If you think he's not controlling the media, think again. I guarantee you this entire conversation that we're having right now won't even get 3,000 views. It won't even get 300. Because my information and other people who provide news and journalistic commentary and content is being suppressed. All right. Let's get back into it, shall we? Hang on just a second. So here's what they're doing. This is not about the concept that this is new, because we all know that it is not. This is about continuing to work on the continuous stereotype of the black male in this country, right? It's used to justify over-policing. It's also used to talk about mass incarceration, because we already know what that's all about, right? You remember the 13th Amendment, and you do know what that's about, right? Oh, okay. Just wanted to make sure. And that violent targeting of our communities for decades, that ain't new either. There's more. So by pushing these images out to the public on the White House page, that must make it real, right? That's got to make it real. Here's what's happening. They're shaping the perception and telling the nation who to fear. They want old white ladies to continue to clutch their purses in public and lock their doors, justifying future crackdowns. That's what they're doing too. I want you to understand that this is actually planting the seed that an increase in police and military presence in black neighborhoods is necessary. And they're distracting you guys from the systemic failure that we're all witnessing right now. You ever thought about that? You ever thought about what that means? So they're masking policy failures with the mess that we are seeing right now. Washington, D.C.'s crime rate is the lowest it's been in almost 30 years. It's down another 26%. The data and the numbers don't lie. But here's the issue. History is absolutely repeating itself. So this mirrors the exact same propaganda campaigns used to target Latinx and immigrant communities. And we're seeing that in real time, where they're just going around and they're just picking up folks. Doesn't matter who it is. We just go pick them up. That's what we're going to do. Yeah. Yeah. Now the focus is on black communities. And y'all, we have said that on social media. We have continued to say that on social media. From the beginning, we knew that our communities were next. Now, here's the end game. It's going to be expanded.
Oh, yeah. Here in North Dakota, we definitely are regretting our votes for Grandpa Tariff. Oh, yeah. Me and my husband run a seed farm up here, and Daddy runs a soybean farm. And the tariffs are hitting North Dakota harder than almost any other state. Yeah, we're really concerned about it. Last time Trump was president, we had to get a bailout, and we were hoping that this time it would be better, but I'm not seeing any signs that we're going to get spared this time around either. We had to pick up a couple pieces of steel in West Fargo yesterday, and we asked them if the tariffs had been affecting the prices yet, and they said just talking about the tariffs affects the price. You know, China will start going to Brazil and Africa for their soybeans, and then they'll establish relationships and we'll get completely cut out of the loop. Trump says it's short-term pain for long-term gain. So far in my life, I've never seen the tariffs do any gain for any of us farmers here in North Dakota. I'm not really even sure why we voted for him.
So my good sis J-Doll says she wants to see the clip. She said, let me see the clip. Ask and you shall receive.
Back to their country with a pass back in legally, and we're doing things that are very difficult to do and very complex, but it works really well. We're sending them back, and then they're schooling, they're learning, they're coming in legally. We have a lot of that going on, but we're taking care of our farmers. We can't let our farmers not have anybody, these people, that you can't replace them very easily. You know, people that live in the inner city are not doing that work. They're just not doing that work. And they've tried, we've tried, everybody tried. They don't do it. These people do it naturally. Naturally. I said, what happens if they get it to a farmer the other day? What happens if they get a bad back? He said, they don't get a bad back, sir, because if they get a bad back, they die. I said, that's interesting, isn't it? You know, these are very, you know, in many ways, they're very, very special people. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so now that you have actually heard the clip, that you've heard the recording for yourself, let's actually break down exactly what Donald Trump has said so far. He started off that clip or that recording stating, oh, how, you know, they have policies and plan of trying to help the farmers, right? Because they desperately need these migrant workers. They need these undocumented migrant workers. They can't leave them without anybody. That right there is admission that the United States agriculture economy is taking a hit behind his policies and his mass deportations. That's the first thing. Donald Trump stresses the fact that the American farmers cannot be left without anybody. They cannot be left without anybody. And then he further goes on by saying that the undocumented migrant workers that he once was calling illegal criminals are very, very special people. They're very, very special people that cannot be easily replaced. Right after Donald Trump makes that statement and say that they cannot be replaced easily, he goes right into stating that people, inner city people, are not doing that work. Words have meanings, okay? When it comes to this government and this American society, when they say inner people, they're referring to black people. And when he said that kind of work, he's talking about field work. In addition to him stating that inner city people will not be doing that kind of work, he goes on by saying that I've tried. We've tried. Everybody's tried. You know who everybody is? The American government, white supremacy. And do you want to know what their version of trying was? DEI eliminations. DEI eliminations. And not just that, but the undoing of so many policies and acts that actually allowed for black people to have equal footing amongst white people in certain areas, in certain spaces. The elimination of DEI programs and incentives were intended to push black people out of the spaces that white people deemed should only be for them. And I'm talking about admin jobs. I'm talking about jobs in medicine, in accounting. They wanted black people to go back to back-breaking work, okay? Being in the fields, hospitality work. That's what they wanted. As of right now, 300,000 women have been displaced from employment, okay? They have lost their jobs. And they thought, and when I say they, this white supremacy American government thought that those 300,000 black women were going to go back into the field. Instead, they got creative. They got creative. And so with all of these mass deportations, they thought that they were going to be able to fill the roles with their original laborers, okay? Their labor workers, black people. Now, see, if there's only two things that you take from this video, the first thing that I want you to take away is the fact that America's success is directly dependent on its labor, free labor, an amount of free labor that they're able to exploit from the citizens, okay? And the second thing is that black Americans will always be their first target. That will always be their first target. When they think about getting free labor, exploited free labor, they will always think of black Americans. Do you understand the level of hatred, jealousy, animosity that you have to have, that this American Constitution has to have to literally pick at one group of people forever, to the point where they are willing to wipe out all other races to try to get this one race of people to bow down, and they refuse. They refuse. You guys, America, had labor that you were already exploiting, but you were willing to get rid of them in mass.
America has never lacked labor. It just always had a very clear idea of who should be doing it. The fields, the factories, the kitchens, the care work, always someone else's job. And now, according to our Secretary of Agriculture, that job should go to Medicaid recipients. Not because they volunteered, not because it pays well, but because in the eyes of power, the poor are disposable. and poverty is now a work assignment. Recently, the Secretary of Agriculture suggested that immigrants being deported from this country will be replaced on farms by Medicaid recipients. Let that sink in. We're now saying if you are poor, you work. If you are sick, you work. If you are disabled, an elderly, or a veteran who served this country and now relies on public health care, you work. Not because it's a calling, but because your life, your value, is reduced to whether you can produce cheap labor. For food you may not even be able to afford yourself. This isn't policy, it's punishment. It's the reincarnation of an old American idea that certain people were born to serve, and if they can't serve willingly, then the government will assign them value. Let's be real here. We know who she's not imagining out there in the fields. She's not thinking of white mothers in rural Ohio. She's not thinking of Vietnam vets who've spent decades battling PTSD. She's not thinking of your grandfather on oxygen or your neighbor recovering from surgery. But when she says Medicaid recipients, she wants you to picture a black or brown face, a poor person, someone else. This is not about labor. This is about lineage. This is about who America has always considered the help. And now that immigration is being restricted and borders are tightening, they're looking inward and they're asking, who's left to exploit? But here's the irony. The people they want to push into those fields are the same people who built the country in the first place, who fed America, who picked, planted, and processed without dignity, wages, or thanks. And we are not going back. This isn't just a cruel policy suggestion. It's a reflection of how far the political mind has strayed from compassion and logic. Because if they truly cared about labor shortages, they'd reform immigration, they'd raise wages, they'd offer healthcare, housing, and safety. But instead, they punish the poor for being poor, and they punish the sick for being sick. So the next time someone in power suggests that Medicaid recipients should work the farms, ask them, which ones? The single mothers in trailer parks? The white veterans on disability? The 74-year-old widower in Alabama? Because if you're going to assign people to the fields, don't pretend it's about fairness. Call it what it is. Modern day indentured labor.
Hello everyone, I really hope you're all doing fine from wherever you are watching me from now. I sometimes wonder how people reason. Sometimes I even sit down and question humanity so much. Sometimes I even sit down, start asking myself questions, because how on earth do you vote someone? Then later on shift the blame on those who didn't vote the person. You actually start threatening the same people who avoided the problem that you brought. I've been sitting down and trying to analyze every possible reasons why some people could be so mad to those people who didn't vote MAGA, and I've always failed to understand. Now, let's talk democratically, because I get to understand that US is being regarded as the most democratic country in the world. Now, if that's the case, if US has actually been bringing democracy to Africans, and it has been preaching democracy to every part of this world, now I'm here to understand why it is so hard for the same people who talk about democracy to understand that democracy is that which rule of the people, by the people, and for the people. And in this case, everyone has a right. That is, everyone is entitled to rights that are stipulated in the Constitution. Be it the rights have been very clearly defined or not, everyone has the same right. So if you say you have the right to vote and the right to choose who is going to be who in the next government or who is going to be elected, then allow others also to have the same right to exercise. Now, it's very sad that I've been seeing a lot of people crying out on social media and trying as much as they can to threaten the black community and the white community, also those who didn't vote for MAGA. Now, if they themselves are complaining about the situation, they are complaining about whatever is happening right now in the US. So what gives them the right to blame shift the people who didn't vote for the same which they consider as a problem? So brothers and sisters, sometimes it's very difficult. Let's just agree. Let's just admit that sometimes things might work not the way we want. But in whichever case, let's try as much as we can to comply and try to accept realities instead of living in a very fascinated world, in a world full of illusions. I've been watching a lot of clips. I've been watching a lot of people talk about how things should be done. But they have not talked about how everyone is considered to have a right to do whatever they want. If you go and vote someone who is not who you are not well placed with, someone who is not working the way you thought they are going to work, it is your responsibility to apologize to those who didn't vote for the problem, not to shift blames and start making demands as if your demands are not met, you're gonna do something crazy. What's that? Now, the MAGA mindset on immigration was very crazy. We should all admit it, that most of them thought that when the illegal migrants were going to be taken out, the country will be good. That these people, they were convinced that the undocumented immigrants were the one that were bringing lawlessness, joblessness, and so many other things, unemployment rate, Now, most of them, especially, they went to vote against the undocumented immigrants. And this was one of the biggest agenda that the orange man sold to his supporters and to the world, that is going to make America great. And I've seen a video of Shahid Bolson asking about when did America become great in the first place? Because American dream is a lie. Everything America has sold to the world is a lie. They have tried to manipulate the population in the outside here so that they have been seen as the Messiah. They have been seen as the supreme country, right? They can be supreme because they are doing really good economically and they have one of the largest armies. So they control the world. They have the powers. But you should not be convinced by the fact that someone is coming to change. You have a different life other than the US itself. You have your life, then there is a life of the country. Now, the nation will propel however much you go down, It is the economy that controls a country. The economy of the country matters the most. So, however much they're trying to tariff and all do these things, it might affect you. But some people at the helm of power are benefiting from this. So, lest you forget, never should you vote out of emotions that people are going to be, the illegal immigrants are going to leave our country. So what? These are the people who have actually held the economy because they come with the American dream in mind. They want to work hard and be rich. They want to become millionaires. They come and they do every other job. However much the salary might not fit whatever they are doing, but they do it because they know where they're coming from, things are not good. Now, I want to talk to you good people, and I want us to understand. Deportations are not a win for law and order. You are lied to that you do not have law and order in the US because of undocumented immigrants. And now you want to know the truth, and there is a reality. And the problem to this is that most of you believed the resources that are in the US are enough without undocumented immigrants. That the time they will kick out the illegal immigrants or the undocumented immigrants, the resources will now come to everyone. Everyone will be employed. The crops will be doing good in the farms. The harvests will be big, salaries, people will now get to be tipped. Salaries will increase and all this other stuff. What's the reality right now? It is hitting harder than we even thought. I actually do not believe in whatever politicians say most of the time. We've been lied to, not once, not twice, but we've believed in these lies. And the fact that we continue believing and voting for the same politicians is crazy. And I've always said that the politicians are not the problem. We, the people, are the problem. If the political class has managed to convince you over the years, year come, year go, with the same lie, now who is the problem? Is it the political class or you? If someone sells a lie to you over and over again, without even changing their character, without having to change their behavior, you who believes in the lie is the problem. Me who is telling the lie, I'm not the problem. Because you should have realized long enough that Trump was there. Democrats have been there. Republicans have been there. Has the situation in the US changed? That's the question. The same lies are coming to be sold to you in the next few years. Now, do you really want to believe that someone else is coming to reverse all the orange man is doing and make you great and your country great? Hell no. Politicians are just the same. They dine together. Their children go to school together. It is you and your friend and your brother and sister somewhere who are having problems with each other. But these people who control almost everything in our countries, they know the game. And they know the easiest way to convince the people is to pretend that they are actually having different ideologies. When they get to power, they behave the same. They increase your taxes. They make life a hell to you. And they make sure, even in the worst scenario, you never have a time to laugh. You never have time to concentrate on the politics of your own country. That you are always on your heels, thinking on how you're going to pay the taxes. Is this whatever you want to live the whole of your life? I've always believed, and I still believe, that we the people can change the way political class has always viewed us. The only way to do that is by uniting, is by coming together. Let's not focus our anger towards our own brothers and sisters. It is the biggest mistake we've done over time. If we really want to change the way things work in our countries, we have to start from here before it comes here, before it comes here. Let your brain think before your eye sees it. Because your eyes are meant to see whatever is in front of you. And your mouth is used to negotiate for you. So, let your brain think. Your mouth will talk as you see. Do not let your eyes deceive you. Do not let your ears deceive you. Do not let your mouth get you into trouble by agreeing to some things that are not good. Thank you so much for having taken the time to watch this video. Brothers and sisters, I really appreciate the support you're giving to this channel. We consider saying the truth. We continue saying the truth without giving up. Thank you so much. May I see you in our next episodes. Thank you.